what Elevar is all about is connecting large enterprise that need innovation in particular areas with startups and entrepreneurs that do innovation every day. Right? So typically speaking, enterprise are not very good at innovating. Not only do they struggle to find specific areas where they need innovation, but they have a lot of red tape and a lot of bureaucracy, so actually getting new innovative programs and solutions into their infrastructure is very difficult. So what Elevar does is we come in, we help them figure out problem areas where they need innovation, and then we go out and we connect with entrepreneurs and startups like yourselves and bring them together with the goal of really taking new, unique, innovative solutions and integrating them into a large enterprise. So the way the program works is you guys have all already applied. I know some of you came to Reverse Pitch Day, some of you didn't, but Reverse Pitch Day was really just where we had the executives themselves come out and pitch the problems that they were looking for particular solutions for. The next phase, for about 10 to 15 startups that are selected, they'll actually enter into the Enterprise Challenge. And the way that'll work is you and your team would come in and you'd have about 5 hours of iteration sessions with different executives where the Chief Strategy Officer or the SVP of Actuarial would come and sit down with you. They'll talk about your solution, your idea, your company. They'll tell you what they like about it, what things they don't really like about it, or ways that they could see it improving to meet the need within not only BCBS Mass, but also within the industry as a whole. And then you'll meet with a different executive. And you'll do that over and over and over again so that you not only understand the way that your solution can be sold to BCBS Mass, but you'll understand specifically what areas you might need to tweak your idea when you do your actual pitch. On the next week, November 14th, you'd come back, you would do a pitch in front of a broad panel of executives, and you'd have the opportunity to land an LOI. So LOI, letter of intent, that basically signifies that BCBS Mass wants to work with you going forward. Over the next 5 to 6 weeks, you'd have one-on-one 20 to 30-minute discussions with the executives from BCBS Mass. That gives you the opportunity to grow and foster a relationship with those executives and also make sure that you're meeting their expectations and you're creating something that you want to create. The whole objective of this is not to have you be acquired by BCBS Mass or something like that. It's to make sure that you're creating something that you're really passionate about, you're interested in, that also meets an industry need. Finally, at the end of the 6 weeks, you'd come back and you'd pitch one more time. And that last pitch is not the same pitch you did the 6 weeks before, but it's the full, how to go to market. So what the rollout phases would look like, how much you're expecting in terms of BCBS Mass to pay for that initial phase. What services are you going to be offering? What are the capabilities going to be? How is it going to be integrated into BCBS Mass's current infrastructure? So the whole process end to end is about 10 weeks. And you guys have worked with large enterprises in the past or tried to go through the sales process. It's extremely expedited. Most enterprise sales take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. Our objective here is to really cut that down because, as I'm sure a lot of you know, startups can have a runway from anywhere from 10 weeks to 3 months. So a 6-month sales process is far too long. Stop there. 6 months at a minimum. Yeah, 6 months at a minimum. If you're lucky. If you're lucky. Yeah. It's usually 18 months.
How many companies, so from you said there were 15 that make it to semi-finalist day?
Yes.
And then from there, how many get awarded LOIs?
So that really depends on the enterprise. In the past, we've seen it be anywhere from 1 team to 4 teams.
Depending on the solution, it could be all 10 to 15.
Yeah.
If it's something that there's really no limit, it's really what BCBS MA wants.
And the only reason why it's cut down even that much is because these executives actually invest a lot of time with every team that gets an LOI. 30 minutes every week for the Chief Strategy Officer is a really hard commodity to come by. So they really only choose teams that they have a strong desire to work with moving forward.
So 2 questions. One is, how mature or evolved are the applicants expected to are they expecting to work with straight up startups that may not have other clients where they have systems in operation? So that's one question about maturity. And the second is, actually, why don't I let you answer that first?
Okay, so from the maturity perspective, we've advised BCBS Mass as well as our other enterprise clients that there's pros and cons to either side. We've worked with some startups that are literally 4 guys living in a frat house and want to do something entrepreneurial, and they were a team that got an LOI. And the pro there is that they're extremely flexible. They can design something that's really innovative, specifically to meet the enterprise needs. But on the flip side, there's not a lot of proven experience. They don't have a lot of traction and things like that. So that's the con there. On the other hand, we've worked with startups that are much further along. They have some Series C funding to Series A funding, have current clients, and so for them, it's much more difficult to pivot because they already have a solution in mind they've developed, but they have the traction and the experience. So it really varies. We try to bring a wide variety, ranging from people that are just incorporated or about to incorporate to the more senior, more experienced.
And my second question is criteria. So other than the problem statements, at any point in the discussion, you can share what the criteria. A lot of even innovation labs within health plans insist on solutions that have proven efficacy. So I just wanted to understand what.
So the 3 main criteria that we look at when we look at startups that are coming into the program are 1, the team experience. So do we believe that the team has both the business expertise as well as the technical expertise? If either side is missing there's usually a problem. The second thing is team dynamic. So looking at a team from a holistic perspective, is there good synergy? Are they people that we would want to work with going forward? Because this is really it's a team effort. From when you come to the Elevar program, working with us and BCBS Mass, there's a lot of time that we spend together. So is it a good environment to foster that relationship? And then the third thing is around the solution. Does it meet the needs of the problem statements? Looking specifically at what BCBS Mass is going to be looking at, I think, you will get into efficacy and things like that, but again, with the earlier stage startups, they don't have that information yet. So I think BCBS Mass and the other enterprises that we've worked with in the past, they are open to the idea of trying out new things. The whole idea behind Elevar Labs is to think out-of-the-box solutions, right? And you can't always have clinical trials and all that stuff. It's pretty easy done.
How much do you think both Elevar and BCBS can share with respect to their portal strategy in terms of what their own plans are for their current present? So on their own, they've got some vision on what they want to build out in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months that says, subscriber, here's Blue Cross and Mass on the web. And that probably will get enhanced in parallel with anyone here working.
Yeah.
So do you think they know enough and are willing to share early on, here's what we want to do ourselves, that helps us understand how we do it?
So I think those discussions would definitely take place during the iteration sessions. As you're thinking about how your solution is going to be integrated into BCBS Mass's current capabilities, they're definitely be giving you information of, okay, we're rolling out an app or we're rolling out a new web interface. How can your solution be integrated into that to make additional capabilities? Good question.
Yeah, can you tell us about the field? So how many do you have that came to each day?
Yeah, so we got a total of 72 applications.
Never mind. I thought it was a lower number.
72 applications. And coming into semi-finalist day, it'll probably be 15 teams. And then from there, it's kind of up to BCBS Mass.
So what is the, as we've been talking in our team, we're trying to understand scale, and we're a startup, and we're trying to understand cost. And I haven't heard anything about that being discussed at this point. So how does the discussion about how much it's going to cost and how much Blue Cross to put up and whether they're venture capitalists? How does that initiate and when and how much?
Yeah, so is the question how much it's going to cost you or how much you would charge for the solution?
Sort of how much Blue Cross is sort of willing to, what is their stake?
What's their financial scope or vision of finance?
So that again will be kind of in the iteration sessions phase. You'll get a much better feel for what their appetite is for your particular solution. I think it really varies.
Yeah.
We've seen plans come in, $50,000 is no big deal to $500,000. And again, these are going to be done in rollouts most likely for any startup that does come in and learn the deal. So you'd have an initial rollout that would be a 6-month implementation, and you have very, very specific capabilities that are offered with your solution, and then moving forward, you would sign another deal to add in additional capabilities. Generally, that's how it works.
I guess the other piece too is that the arrangement itself, like at the end of Innovation Day, it isn't just necessarily they're going to invest $50,000 in your solution. That relationship, that partnership can take a number of different forms. They could do pure investment. They could work with you as a vendor. They could also work with you just exchanging data. I know one of the teams we worked with in the past, the end result of this whole process was that they had access to the plan's data that they were able to use for other applications. So really the nature of what that compensation is going to be at the end changes. And it really depends on what you establish with BCBS MA and the outcome.
It's really, really flexible, and we kind of work as a referee to make sure that the startups aren't being taken advantage of, and also the enterprise side.
And really, that's kind of Elevar's role throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
We're kind of doing the logistics part of it, but at the same time, we're there as a resource and a mentor throughout the whole process. So, if you're having issues, I don't know if it's going to happen, but with BCBS MA, you can always come to us. Like we try to be as impartial, and we're making sure that both sides are working well with each other. So
Are you hired by them? You're engaged, I guess, would be a proper word.
And at what point in this process is that sort of compensation determined? Is that at the iteration session?
So during the iteration sessions, you'll have those early stage discussions, but when you come in for what we call an innovation day, where you actually pitch, that's where you're pitching. This is the amount that we want in funding, or this is the amount that we want for revenue share, or whatever.
So with that innovation day, you actually make push across.
Yes, and that by pitch there, I mean very, very structured. This is what the rollout will look like. This is how much we expect for if it's a vendor relationship. This is how much revenue we want for this, or if it's an investment, we want $50,000, or if it's hey, we just want your data. That's where you would come in and really pitch what you want and what you're going to do.
And are you, at that point, people typically sort of project any kind of like return on investment from Blue Cross, or is that?
It's usually a really structured business plan of what the investment's going to look like, what the KPIs will be, all of those things will be in that. So it'll be a very structured business pitch. And we also, doing the iteration sessions, we help you develop that.
Does Blue Cross Massachusetts seek to have sort of portfolio of investments, or to the extent that they actually motivated more by solutions? So, for example, if instead of equity, they had a 9-month exclusive on the products that they're helping create, would that be better or worse for them?
So I think that the objective of this program is more on the solution side. That said, BCBS Mass actually does have a venture fund that they have different solutions with. So I think either option is applicable and appropriate here, but it's going to be more so whatever you as a startup are willing to do, and they on your potential client side want to do.
We didn't make the reverse pitch day. Is there a place we can find what the solutions they're interested in is?
Yeah, I mean, we're
So-
going over it. That's a wonderful segue.
So, problem statements. And this we'll all be sharing with you guys. So we'll send these out. But reverse pitch day was really about just them pitching the problems out and having questions. We're happy to take questions here too. So three problem statements for engaging local communities, the millennial generation, and baby boomers. So starting out with local communities, now this is a really, really broad problem statement. Basically, they're looking at any way to engage the community at large. And that's not just their members, but it's Massachusetts as a whole. Everyone within Massachusetts, how do we get people to live healthier lives? How do we increase access to care? Right? So if you're living in a rural community, how can we give more information to people so that they're more aware about their chronic condition or their healthcare offerings within their surroundings, or how to eat healthier, how to be more active, really anything to increase the well-being of the Massachusetts community as a whole. Any questions on that one? I mean, they could be part of it. It's more segmented, right? So there's another question I'll move on to. Okay, so 2 is engaging the millennial generation. As I'm sure everyone here knows, millennials age anywhere from 14 to 32. They're
Just missed it.
We'll say 33. So anywhere within that age group, these are generally speaking the healthiest people. They're also the people that have the Superman effect or whatever. They think they're invincible. They tend to not go and get care, not go for general checkups. And just by and large, they're not engaged with their health because they are by and large healthy. So BCBS Mass is looking within their member population. That's kind of a little bit how it differs from the community side. So it's within the member population or potential members. What new offerings or what new capabilities can they give to this generation of people to add differentiation from other plans? So are there new apps out there that would engage millennials, right, with their healthcare? Right, so from the examples we were talking about before for wearables, right? How can you integrate your wearable with the BCBS Mass app that also pushes information from the plan? How do you make it easier to schedule appointments or see different types of doctors or see the cheapest doctor around you if you just want to go for a general checkup? Just any way to offer differentiated care for the millennial generation in particular to differentiate BCBS Mass from the competitors.
Cross differentiating between millennial members who are dependents, under their parents' plan, because now with ACA, the parents' plan until age 26, and then after that they can be direct members of primary care. So is there any distinction? They don't care?
They don't care because the solution would be applicable for anyone, but in terms of their target for this, it is people that are within their own plan. So subscribers. Yeah.
These are the people that didn't sign up for a loan service.
Yeah.
They're trying to get the lower pricing because they're lower.
Right. And to your point again, though, if there is a millennial that's 25 and they have this service through BCBS Mass, they're less likely when they turn 26 to switch over to another provider, right? Because if they like the services and the capabilities you're getting through BCBS Mass, the idea at least is that they're less likely to switch.
So this is more about member acquisition and retention and less about medical cost management, right?
I think you can go both ways.
Okay.
So medical cost acquisition.
If they're generally healthy, they may not all be healthy. Some of them may have various
Right.
chronic conditions or just height conditions. But
Yeah, so I think for the millennial generation in particular, it would probably be more for just member engagement for healthier member acquisition. All right, the last one is around engaging seniors and baby boomers. So one thing that is a trend that's being noticed is that 85-year-olds generally don't have smartphones and don't operate smartphones, but the baby boomers that are just entering into senior care or Medicare, 65 and plus, many of them do operate smartphones. They are tech savvy, and plans like BCBS Mass don't really know what types of services and engagement tools baby boomers will be willing to use or will want to use. And as we were discussing before, as these members are going into Medicare, many of them don't know or aren't educated on the differences from their previous plan to their Medicare plan. They don't know how it works. They don't know how to sign up for different supplemental plans. And so as these members are moving over from BCBS MAS to Medicare and hopefully to some sort of supplemental plan through BCBS MAS, how does the plan educate them on all the changes that are going to take place as they move into Medicare? How do they create new tools for them to use, given that baby boomers and this population in general is probably not 100% healthy. There's usually some sort of chronic condition involved there, and they're also getting into an age where they need to see doctors more often. So just different tools specifically geared toward that population.
What I feel is that engaging the new to Medicare patients, there's only 4 types of Medicare plans. I think the people who do not understand are the lower socioeconomic status.
Well, I think there are a lot of changes. I think when you move into kind of the Medicare world, there's actually, even though there are 4 or so options, I think the nuances, the changes are just something that you're just not prepared for. I think this problem statement in particular is how do you prepare people that are just about to get into that world, how to understand the new healthcare space that we're dealing with. Because most often, more often than not, I'm sure they were used to, they were with the same plan for the past 20 years, right? And now it's all going to change. So we need to figure out ways to explain those changes, to make sure that they understand how their coverage and their provider numbers are changing, all of the reimbursement changes.
So for the baby boomers, it's mostly geared towards that, or are they interested also in things that will impact their wellness and health and things like that, or they're mostly just looking for explaining the plans and getting them to the right thing?
No, I think it's both. And I actually don't know where the article is now, but I can look it up. There was an article that said that in terms of wearables and uptake there, it's actually higher in senior populations, or in maybe the population as compared to millennials. And that was really interesting, and it's because that generation is really interested in kind of quantifying the amount of exercise and things like that they do, whereas millennials that are healthy don't care as much.
They're also more loyal as a population than millennials are like, it's cheaper, better, faster, I want it, as opposed to where I've had this for years and it works.
Sorry, there's one question.
Yeah, so presumably all of us have already chosen one of these problem statements.
Mm-hmm.
So is there an opportunity to change at this point? Because after this, we're going to be either in the 15 or not, right?
Right. I'd be open if you guys want to send an email to the Elevar Labs email address. If you have a strong preference on changing.
Or adding another one, because I think that was just it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say, the other thing too is that kind of previous sort of versions of the Enterprise Challenge, we've had startup teams that changed that day based on the feedback that they got from the executives. So, after all that mentoring, they're like, oh, our solution actually fits better for this problem statement than the other. So I think it's okay to change, just as long as you have a clear reason why, and it makes sense.
I think the one key lesson learned from other programs is that it's important to really align yourself to one problem statement.
Yeah.
And to make sure that your solution really fits in there, and you're not trying to fit, a square peg to a circle hole. That's definitely important.
Yeah, I think it's more that now I have greater clarity on what is meant by these themes than was on the website, and so now I realize that I probably should pick a different one than the one that I initially chose.
What was the breakdown of percentage of teams choosing the different ones?
So off the top of my head, it was 45% local communities, and then 30-25-ish.
Really, that's good.
Yeah, I was really surprised that local communities was the highest.
Yeah. And I was speaking to someone earlier about this, but I think the way to really view these problem statements is more from a market segmentation standpoint versus just pure engagement and how we define engagement and having discussions on engagement. I think we get too focused on that aspect we're going to get lost. Just really view them as problem statements around a market segment. So solutions around millennials, solutions around the senior population, solutions for the community. It's a better way to do it than purely how do we engage, because that was obviously a point of contention. So,
in terms of the second priority, and this might just be an artifact of our collectively having interrupted you with questions where in the middle of number 3, but I perceived Sheila Buckley as actually emphasizing the already seniors as much or maybe even more than the pre-65 crowd. And I also thought she was really talking about engagement in the sense of connecting them socially to each other or to people around them as well as across. Did I misperceive during this day? Or
No, that's definitely accurate. And maybe I didn't emphasize that enough. I think for both millennials and seniors and even local communities, creating engagement in the sense of social networks and having people interact with each other, whether that's getting people that all have diabetes to talk together, or for millennials getting them to compete on how fast they run a mile. I don't know.
And in terms of segments, it's the pre-seniors, but also the already
existing seniors. Yeah, I think the one point to mention there, though, is the way you would interact or create a solution for the existing over 65. I think would look different than the pre-65.
So the population is bigger, according to your LinkedIn articles, the millennial is $4 out of $5 is in the equivalent sector. You need both, right? I mean, ultimately, if you're not sure, cheap young people and healthy old people.
it's all about managing that risk profile. But that's also a really good plug. So if you check out the website, we actually have blog articles on each of the problem statements and kind of our interpretation of both the problem statement, but also some potential solutions that might work in that space.
This was the question I had before I graciously gave everyone a break. It was about the user experience and engagement question. So this, and I think the answer depends on who you talk to. So just ask me for the sake of asking it, I suppose. Do they care about who controls that user experience? So if we have someone engaging on Fitbit but never logs into the Blue Coffee Show portal, but we somehow create a way by which they're engaging their health, is that valuable, or does it need to be they need to engage with the Coffee Show? And that's why I go back to it's about getting people healthy, or it's about brand equity.
I think there would be some component where BCBS Mass's stamp is on it or something. That's just a gut check feeling, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think you would have to have that for them to connect to Fitbit. But once they connect it and they go, oh, I'm going to use my Fitbit every day. We're pulling their data. They don't need to come in and check it out. They want to see their steps. So I'll go to the Fitbit app or they'll go to my Runkeeper app or something. And just like this goes back to almost the CarePass thing, right? CarePass wanted to control that user experience. And I think that's what kind of killed them because people have a finite amount of time. So they're just sitting in the Fitbit app. Maybe not going to CarePass.
I think
It's like an iteration around questions.
I mean, it's always it depends, right? And I think an aspect of that is just how developed the various engagement tools, like how developed is the portal, how developed is the web app, to do a lot of that user engagement. I actually haven't had experience with the app that they have right now. Do you know?
They don't have that.
That's another piece. So yeah, because of that platform question, I think we can define like what that user experience is.
And the other question I had from the previous slide, is it uncommon for someone to say, look, are people pitching a full rollout and say, this is what we want to do to your entire population, potentially for baby boomers, or they say, let's do a pilot, and if I'm going to do a pilot, it's going to cost $25K as opposed to $250,000 if I went to your entire population, and what's typical, and then also, is it uncommon for someone to say, we want to pilot this with you, we'll do it for free, to show, just to say that we work with Blue Cross, that's obviously tons of value to that. Is there a pricing component here where someone can compete on making it so valuable? Hey, this is a free thing to do.
So the question of how much you charge, I think, is really dependent on where you are as a startup and how many you want to just give away free for the first pilot. The example that Alec gave earlier, they just asked for the data. What's kind of a pilot? They want to prove that if they got the data, they could do something interesting. Now, on Innovation Day itself, what you're pitching will typically be some sort of pilot or first implementation phase. but they'll usually show, after that, what the next steps would be. So that in the back of their head, they're thinking about it, and they can see, what the ROI would be over time. So, yes.
The piece I guess I'm not getting is it seems like the iteration session is to kind of further define what you're doing, but yet they've already signed a letter of intent. So it seems like they're signing a letter of intent on something a little bit more conceptual in some cases. Like how does that work? I would think they'd want to go through the iteration, then know what the product is.
Yeah, so the LOI is non-binding, right? So it's just basically what it says is over the next 6, 7, 8 weeks, they have first right of refusal on the solution that you're developing, right? So after that 7 weeks, you're free to go sell it to Aetna if you want, or whatever, right? But they're also saying that through those iteration sessions, they're guaranteeing you their undivided attention on a weekly basis to check in. Now, if you're a really early stage startup and you want to really define that solution, have them be a kind of side partner, that's what those iteration sessions are for. So you got the LOI on kind of the conceptual basis, but then through those iteration sessions, you're further developing that solution, checking in with them and saying, hey, we thought we were going to do this, but we like this better. What do you think? Right? For startups that are more evolved, they already have a viable product or a product on the market, then those iteration sessions are more about developing the relationship, the rapport, and making sure that when you go into Innovation Day and do a full-on pitch, whether it's first, here this is free for the first time, or what the rollout's going to be, you're getting a feel for what their budget looks like, what their appetite is for actually paying for.
How many lives do they insure? How many lives do they insure?
3 million? I think 2.9, but 2.9 is too much.
Do you know what the breakdown is from millennials to boomers?
I'm good with numbers, but not that good.
And I just want to go back to a very basic question. So who will make the decision about the 15 or so that you've selected from what's already been submitted?
Correct. Well, we make the decision on who we recommend to BCBS Mass. They give the final approval.
So yes, suck up to us. That was the question that was out there. I know, actually being here is great.
So we sat through North Carolina.
When you say it like that.
Can we add things to what we've already shared with you? I mean, sort of clarifications, or is what you have, what you're looking for?
What we're having, so that the second document that we sent out, I think we got 100% of the back. That was really used to be able to compare each startup side by side. So thanks again for everyone for submitting those, especially with the short timeline. Additional information would be requested if we need it, but I think the information we have right now is enough to go up. We have 7 minutes. I could delve into the difference between BCBS plans, or I can give you all your
From your other, you've obviously been on your own client. Who are the other people on that list that are interested in innovation? So you showed, everybody from WellPoint, Canada, Capital, and Cross. Who among those groups are also interested in looking at new technology?
So it was interesting when we first kind of started looking at different plans, especially within the blues. We assumed that the bigger blues, the ones that have more money, would have a larger budget for innovation. It's not actually the case. It's the ones that are feeling more pain within their regions, right? So WellPoint, they're huge, right? They definitely have a really substantial innovation budget, and they're also for profit, so they're really gunning for it hard. Now, some of the smaller plans, like Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, Blue Shield of Florida, Independence, they're, I know, also investing a lot of money in innovation. Specific areas of innovation, I'm not sure. But I know their budget is much larger, and they're also thinking of ways ways that they can actually work together to create new innovations that would then be scaled out to the groups in general.
To that point, to that point, and I understand these are independent companies, but is there any potential to scale something that was appealing to Blue Cross Blue Shield Massachusetts out to the other groups?
That can be the next point. What's great about the Blues is that if you have a successful relationship with BCBS Mass, it's very easy to get a referral over to Regions or Horizon or a lot of the other plans. They work really, really well together, and they're very, very collaborative. So if your solution works well here, there's no reason that we couldn't help you talk to other Blues or get recommendations from your client here, which would most likely be Sarah Iceland, the CSO.
Is a pilot idea an opportunity as well? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's another way to look at it rather than all or nothing with you guys. Let's think of this as a pilot opportunity with the expandability as the real potential.
Yeah, definitely.
And BCBS Mass is actually recognized as one of the better reviews, and within the system, it's definitely respected. And if something works at Mass, it's something that the other groups will definitely be interested in. It will pique their interest.
Does that go the other way? If any of these other folks, like, are there others that...
There are particular Blues that work really well together.
Some don't like each other.
Some don't like each other as much, but I know independents in Massachusetts work really well together. Some of the smaller plans, like North Carolina, Florida, Regions is really collaborative. Regions is actually really, really innovative. We're actually going to be starting an Elevar Lab there in 2015. But they have a huge innovation budget, and they're doing a lot on the Pacific Northwest there.
How do you say that?
Regions, BCBS Regions.
So they're Pacific Northwest. So it's, Oregon, Seattle, or Washington.
Oregon, Washington, Utah, and I don't know.
Where would HMSA why plan fall?
Very small. I'm not sure what their membership is.
So pretty innovative.
We only hear kind of like the rumors when we're at client sites and what they say about each other.
Yeah.
So. All right, I think we're just getting over time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate the discussion.
Thank you.
I have cards over there. Feel free to email us or if you have questions.
Please send out questions to LinkedIn. We'll do our best to answer them, and we'll send out whatever slides. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.